Hey everybody, Stevie Taylor here. Welcome to episode 45 of the Gig Life podcast. So nice to have you here. Hope you can stay a while. Yep, really grateful that you've come to check out the Gig Life podcast. It's not the same when you're not here. This week I launched the brand new website for the Gig Life podcast, and you can go check that out at www.thegiglifepodcast.com. All the episodes are there, all the subscribe links and all that sort of stuff. There's a contact page, there's some photos and videos on there, there's the Instagram feeds on there and all the other social links and that sort of stuff. Sort of the one-stop shop type thing. But when I say shop, it's all free. You don't have to pay for anything. That's how it's always been and that's how it's always going to be. So please go check it out. Let me know what you think. So this episode is the next chapter in the Gig Life podcast roundtable series, and this time it's the bass player's turn. My guests are six of Australia's leading bass players: Victor Rounds, Mark Costa, Dauno Martinez, Adam Ventoura, Bobby Poulton, and Kristian Attard, who is actually in LA, and he Skyped in from his drive home from a gig. If you haven't heard of these cats, there's some info on them in the show notes and also on the website. Adam, Victor, Mark, and Dauno have all been on the Gig Life podcast before, so go back and check out their episodes. Lots of cool stuff there, so go check it out. So during this roundtable chat, we talked about a range of topics: worst backline equipment, cornerstone albums, band leaders, what makes a good drummer, bass versus keyboardist left hand, a bunch of other stuff. It was extremely enjoyable afternoon hanging with these cats at my house. Loads of laughs, as well as some really serious conversation. Now, when I sat down to edit this recording, I was devastated to find that the first 30-minute file of the recording was corrupted and damaged. I tried everything to get it restored and get the data pulled off the file, but no, sorry, didn't happen. It's pretty heartbreaking stuff. But anyways, on we roll. So this episode is part 1 of 2, and it features Victor, Mark, Bobby, Adam and Dauno. Due to the lost first 30 minutes, what you don't get to hear is the guys talking about their current gigs, the music they're listening to, worst backline equipment and that sort of thing. So we come in with Victor Rounds discussing his cornerstone albums, and we sort of roll on from there. So hope you enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, part 1 of the Gig Life podcast Bass Players Roundtable. Cheers.
So when I was about 10 or 11, I started just listening to bass in general, with transistor radios and all this. And then I heard Stevie Wonder's Signed, Sealed, Delivered. You could buy it on a single. So I went out and bought it, and I played it, and the bass line on that just knocked me. It was like, what the F is this, It's just syncopated grooves going everywhere. By that stage, I wasn't familiar with music theory. It was all ears. I'm hearing where he was going, and he's going to the 4 chord and the 5 chord and all of it. It was just what he was doing to get there.
Is that Jameson?
Jameson,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, being my cornerstone, not album, but record,
Right.
And as simple as the chord changes were, it's just what he was doing around it. He was like, for me, he was making fun of you, like, see what I'm doing here, man? While everyone's just playing the changes, and he's just like free reign. And I'm thinking, what the hell? And then from then on, I just discovered that he was the bass player on most of the Motown records, which I went out and bought. So that went on for quite a few, almost like a decade. And then things happened after that, then Stanley came on the scene as such, and then Jacko arrived, and that was just another level. And so, like all of us, we all agree, we all studied Jacko's work as such, and the thing is, I just wanted to get into his head and just see what he was thinking at the time, But in the very beginning, it was Jameson for me. Yeah, just even up to today. I mean, with all respects to everybody that's come after him, even in Jacko's playing, you can still hear some Jameson in there.
Absolutely.
It's a heavy influence, especially when he does Come On, Come Over, or some of those other classic ones. It's just Jameson, with his own input. But, hats off to James Jameson for me.
Dauno.
I'm trying to think. Started on my father's guitar, and I think he recognized that my right hand was a bass player. That was the beginning, because I didn't know what I was doing, but my right hand was the bass player hand, and he recognized that I was a bass player, and he said that I was a bass player. So I guess that's that in my consciousness, I was aware that I was a bass player. And a very famous band came from Argentina, and they were called Soda Stereo. And I recall I was mesmerized by the bass player because he was cool. He played his bass, and it was a right angle on the. He played like that. So he was cool. I looked at him, that's really cool. And my father obviously had the jazz fusion stuff, and that all started making sense. All that music. I mean, I don't think he was the first bass player. I think it was all even, because Stanley Clarke, Ralph Armstrong. Ralph Armstrong made a really, really big impact in me, because he played with Jean-Luc Ponty in Mahavishnu Orchestra. And I play like him, I must admit. I really do. When it comes to, let's say, playing a disco thing, or even a gospel-y thing, it's a lot of him that's in me, because I grew up listening to that. And there's a live album of Jean-Luc Ponty. It's called Jean-Luc Ponty Live. And he plays his ass off on that. And he was like 17 or 18 or something like that. Young. He's a young guy. And I think he did those recordings with Mahavishnu Orchestra at that age. So I grew up with that and Stanley Clarke. Stanley Clarke was a big influence. I have Stanley Clarke's Attack on my right hand. I had sometimes when I feel like attacking, I feel like hearing, I go there sometimes. And later, Marcus Miller, I learned about precision with him, precise slapping, that kind of very, very hitting the note precisely. That was, and I used to practice that. And Miles Davis, So that was the stuff that I really dug, and I didn't get into Jaco Pastorius too much later, 90s, even mid-90s, I would say. Mid-90s was when I heard Jaco, and I went, oh fuck, that's amazing. I guess I'm the first one to swear.
No, that was me. Won't be the last time either.
The interviewer.
So yeah, but Jack, that was mesmerizing, and hearing the duet, the Donna Lee duet, that was amazing. That thing's incredible. The swing, and the way. Who was playing tumbas on that?
Don
Elias. Oh yeah, no wonder. Yeah, so wow, all that. I mean, mesmerizing. But I have a thing between Jaco and Ralph Armstrong, man. Both of them to me were amazing, but Ralph did something else to me. Ralph hit me in he See, Jaco had this melodic thing, which was beautiful. Ralph Armstrong had this groove thing. He hit me with his notes, his attack on the notes, and he had a different thing. Yeah, so it's all that music, right? Mm. And then when I heard Afro-Cuban music, that kind of knocks you out because it's how the magic on how to play a root and a fifth, and good luck if you know how to put a third in there. Yeah. You know, it's and if you're gonna get wilder, add a seventh. Good luck to that. But those that kind of bass playing it really is mesmerized Adam. I know that's for sure, and everyone. I mean, we all got attacked by that. Very inspiring music. Simple, and also this simple bass playing, which is not simple. It's reggae music. That music is so deep to play, and it's so satisfying as a bass player because there's nobody else bothering you. I'm going to pass the mic over to Maestro here.
Cornerstone album. Okay, well, like Adam, my father was a musician. My dad was a drummer. And I've got young parents. My mother had me when she was quite young, 15. So I remember being at school and doing my homework, and my dad would be playing albums, and he'd be playing like the first Brecker Brothers album and Herbie Hancock Thrust. And,
who was the bass player on that first Brecker Brothers album?
Will Lee.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. But I didn't know who Will Lee was. I just heard this music while I'm doing my mathematics or social science homework or whatever. So that music was all around me. But the Cornerstone album, and even the Jaco album and Stanley Clarke's debut album, but the music that really kind of moved me, I went to a party when I was at school, and they were playing Earth, Wind and Fire's All in All album. That was the music that was playing, because that's the pop music of the day. I'm talking like mid-70s. And I remember listening to that album, and I just felt every hair on my body just on end, and just felt this kind of big emotional tornado just kind of hit me when I was just kind of like going, wow, this is the first time. Well, I didn't really know what was going on, but I really felt the magic and the pull of music, the emotional power of music by listening to that album, because there was everything about it, the melodies, the singing, the playing. I didn't even know about production, but I think that was kind of part of it as well. But that really kind of moved me. It shook me to my core, and that album, and then their following album, I Am, Boogie Wonderland and all those two albums to me were just like, I don't even play like that, but that sort of like set up this whole kind of, I think this, you guys are probably going to laugh at this, but one of my lifelong dreams was to play in a black band, a black funk band. Look at me, a guy from Borkham Hills, bald, middle-aged guy. But that was something that I always wanted to do, and Earth, Wind and Fire kind of, if I played in a band like that, I could have died and gone to heaven,
Did you play in an Earth, Wind and Fire tribute band?
No. Oh, no, it had to be the real thing.
Oh, right, okay.
But, and I think that kind of, that was certainly my Cornerstone album. And then all that other stuff, as I was learning the bass, the Jaco thing, and there's always the Jaco versus Stanley thing, they were the two, and I definitely was in the Jaco camp, I just loved his phrasing and the whole fretless sound and all that sort of stuff. Jameson, I kind of checked out, I didn't even know who it was, but when that book Standing in the Shadows of Motown came out, I was like checking it out like everyone else. And then that's when I started a real deep appreciation for him. And I also came to that Donny Hathaway album later on, but that kind of, that was pivotal as well, like checking out all that stuff. Actually, Adam talked about the 70s before. To me, that's still the pinnacle. That just, what I mean? All that stuff was, I remember in the 70s, hearing Lewis Johnson on the radio, Strawberry Letter 23, and I didn't know what the hell was going. Yeah. You know, I didn't know what the hell he was. I saw the film clip and he was hitting the bass with his thumb, and I'm going, you know. Actually, another big bass player for me from the 70s was George McArdle from Little River Band. He was the one that played on, you know, the big hits. Mate, but what a killer bass player that guy was. He's just amazing.
Lonesome Loser?
No, that's Clive Harrison.
That's Clive Harrison?
Yeah, George had left by that stage.
Okay.
But I've got some kind of bootleg recordings of George in the States. And, man, you want to check out good bass playing, man, Fender Precision, left-handed. Yeah. But, you know, just unbelievable playing. You know. Yeah, so all that stuff kind of came later on when I became professional and you're checking out everything and blah, blah, blah. But definitely Earth, Wind & Fire was the one for me. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you guys look for in a drummer? This is a big one. And
you better switch the microphone off. We're going to be dropping names.
And
what's a drummer?
I put a call out for questions, and I would have to say 80% of the questions came back was asking, one, who is your favourite Australian drummer, and what do you look for in a drummer? So
that's
I think
hard,
that's
hard.
That's you know you have to answer it, eh?
Well, that's like you're convicting yourself already.
Yeah.
You know, you're up for manslaughter.
Yeah.
From
so you don't have to say names, because like
I can word it to you and they can't hear it. No. No. Just joking.
Adam, you will start.
Oh wow. Okay. Look, there seems to be a bit of a split for me between drummers that have a much more of an emphasis on their technical proficiency and their hands, and drummers that play songs. You got drummers that have amazing chops that play songs, and you got guys with monster chops that play songs well as well. So like there's a spectrum there, but for me, I feel like I love composition, and I love how songs build, and then how you build your playing within a song across a composition sort of thing, and you just want a drummer to kind of do that with you, essentially. I mean, there's all the obvious stuff like solid time feel, like a beautiful groove, you know. And you know, I'm very lucky to play with a lot of amazing drummers in Sydney and from around Australia. Like they're guys that I genuinely am overjoyed to play with. But, you know, and then you get on the old gig and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, right. And I realise again how lucky I am, because someone's sort of like waiting for their monster fill, or their rhythms kind of sloppy and they drag, or they speed up really badly, or, you know, like you kind of go, wow, you know, it's something that sort of I've started taking for granted until that one gig. Every now and again I end up on one with a stranger, and you just want it to be solid time, beautiful groove, play the songs. I don't give a shit how many chops you got. If you're doing those three things, then you're absolutely winning for me, because that's all it really needs, you know what I mean? In any style, in anything, really.
Yep, good answer. Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, that's the answer. I mean,
right.
Really, you want people who, for me, if I enjoy a gig, it's because the drummer is good. If the drummer is bad, is it possible to enjoy the gig? Nope. I don't think it is. I don't think I've ever enjoyed a gig where I've played with a bad drummer, and it makes you play bad, so then that reflects badly on you to the rest of the band. It really is. I mean, for me, if the drummer's good and if the guitarist has a good sound, I will probably enjoy the gig. I love playing all kinds of music, so it's not to do with the music that I'm playing. It all comes down to the drummer that I'm playing with, and you know, the sounds around me, people playing in their sonic space. If the guitarist has their bass knob all the way up, I'm going to not enjoy that, because they're taking up sonic space that belongs to the bass drum and to the toms and to the bass guitar. But yeah, drummers are essential to bass players. We exist in a very synergistic and symbiotic relationship. Yeah, but it's a genre appropriate thing. Like, obviously, if you're playing a style of music that is historically, come from Africa, like a groove-based thing, and you've got a groove drummer, and they have a nice deep pocket, that is what you want. Whereas I did a tour last year with Andrew Stockdale from Wolfmother, and the drummer was Brett Wolfe from Melbourne, and he plays exactly like Keith Richards and Ringo Starr put together. So it's obviously not like pocket playing, but it was magic to play with. And so it's just, playing genre appropriately.
Awesome. Vic?
You pretty much summed it up for us.
Yeah, exactly.
I just agree with the last two comments. For me, what's really critical is just a drummer that just keeps perfect time. That's all. No fancy overheads. I don't like fancy overheads. It just messes with the groove.
Right.
There's a time and a place for that. And when that happens, it's magical. It's not my call, it's their call. But when that happens, you can tell the drummer's been listening to the song and he's colouring it because at the end of the day, we're just all team players.
Yeah.
We're backing whoever's out the front, and that's the most important thing. We'll get our chance to shine, but at that stage, we're still team players. We're like, we're the hot shot bloody team around town, bass, drums, guitar, whatever. You get a good combination of those players and keys for that matter, and everyone's kind of listening, and they're all aware of what tune you're doing. You're in that moment, and every song you try and create magic. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It really doesn't matter, But there's only a handful of drummers. Wow, this is how far I'll go out. There's only a handful of drummers that have got that.
They're all sitting back. They're all sitting back now, going, "Is that me?" And you get a text message, Vic. Hey, Vic, is that me, bro?
There's only a handful of drummers out there. There's about 20 of them, actually. No. Safe. No, that just appreciate that. It's. How many times have you been told where? Like you do gigs with so many drummers in the world. I travel around the world and play with drummers from other countries and all that, and people just come up and said, "Man, you guys sound good together." But I believe it's the the bass player's responsibility of making the drummer sound good.
Thank you, sir.
It's always like that. It's always the case. It's like it's not hard work. It's magic sometimes. But that comes with a really good combination of the drummer being aware and me coming to the gig and offering my part and not like doing anything more than no fancy overheads, just play the basic song. And when there's a moment to shine, you can do it. But it's just that's our job, Unless I'm a virtuoso and then it's just like, okay, I'll get a trio together and I'll just be playing solos all night and all that sort of that doesn't interest me at all, I can do that in one song, just give me 8 bars, I'll shine. And that 8 bars will explain my whole life to a point, you know what I mean? Right. It doesn't have to be a whole night of, okay, here's a solo thing, but whatever,
Gotcha.
But that's all I look for in a drummer. Right. And good timekeeper, because as soon as you notice a bass player starting doing this, it's like, something's wrong there. It's like he wants the tempo right there, And if the drummer's off on another tangent, it's like, no, man, it's there. But the thing is not to make the drummer look like you can't sort of give too much of an obvious body language, because it'll look like to the punters, whoa, something's not happening here. It's like he's struggling with the drummer. So it's got to be kind of light, just that kind of, just a nice little subtle movement. Then the drummer will get it, but if he doesn't get it, it's like, forget it. Just don't bother trying to get that tempo happening. Just play the song till the end and then hope that the next song will be an improvement.
Right.
So I've had to deal with that in my life,
we all have, mate.
Yeah. And it's not fun, it's... I'm just thinking about drummers that I've played with lately, and just it's been great.
Name names.
But for me, the most frustrating thing is just time, man.
Yeah.
If somebody's going to, the lead, whoever's out the front who's going to call the tempo, that's the tempo. It's not the drummer's tempo. It's that tempo.
Yeah.
If it's a he or she and she goes, a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4, ding, 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 ding. It's like, oh shit, you know, handbrake. You know, stuff like, and I can't do anything. I look bad because the drummer's making me look bad. So we both get the blame for it. It's like, guys, that wasn't settling. You know, that didn't settle at all. And it's like, well, first of all, you feel like saying, it wasn't me, but you can't. You know, it's just like you're stuck with the drummer, so you're being blamed because you two will come together. You're the engine room. You know, just things like that. You know?
Sorry, Dauno. I played a gig last night with a band that I haven't played with before, and most of the time the singer-guitarist was counting off the songs, and then I would start with him, and every time the bass player would turn around and go...
Yeah.
So
Pick it
every
up,
song
pick it
kind
up.
of it did this, you know, and
Yeah.
got to kind of... It's the same, people are looking, and are they looking at me now?
It's
Did I
your
start it
fault.
too slow? And like, because the bass player turned around and go,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm just... You know, so it was one of those
It's frustrating.
situations.
It's very, very frustrating. And it's well, did the bass player come with the singer? Like, was he
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
well, that could be a
little bit different, yeah.
MD kind of vibe.
I think it was.
Where he thought it maybe should be up. Oh, you get those situations. You know, my wife Jo Elms. She's got really good time, man. She's got perfect timing. Whenever she does solo gigs and such, like she does a club show or something, she counts in all the songs, and she just relies on the drummer. And you know, when sometimes the drummers are just too concerned with their head buried deep in the chart. Yeah, they're just worried about playing the correct thing, and they totally lose all concept of the time. And poor old Joe's just struggling. It's like, pick it up. You know, it's like. She had to do that last week. I won't name the drummer, but just actually went around to the podium and says, pick it up. The guy his head just popped out of the charts and went, oh, you know, it's like, you know, forget about trying to read the perfect chart. Just get the feel and find your way, you know. It's like, it's what the performer wants, you know. Give it to them, you know, not be like, I'm correct or whatever, you know. Are you listening out there?
Dauno.
I can relate to drummers because I consider myself to be a drummer myself, and the struggle of keeping time, the struggle of playing in time, is a big struggle if you haven't got the experience of playing time. Meaning, I've recently, or in a while, I've been practicing to click with drums. I turn off the click. When I've turned off the click and gone do a gig, I'm playing drums tonight with Errol, with the Caribbean Soul. So it's reggae. I cannot chop out on that. There's no room for chopping. It's reggae. There's no room for putting a gospel chop in there. You can't do that. I have to respect the style of music. So, and the touch, where your accent's got to be on your right hand, you put the hi-hat on the end. And maybe you don't feel like putting the accent on the hi-hat on the end. Maybe the accent should be in between the 16th note of the end. You open the hi-hat and close it real quick. That's some tough shit. Yeah. And that's your open. And you. So what I'm saying is that because I've been that guy that I love the drums. I want to play the drums, you know. And when you practice with the click and you start to fine tune everything, it feels beautiful, man. It's such a beautiful feeling to actually sit and just play and feel comfortable. And you don't have to hit hard. You don't have to bash the drum to get a nice sound, or the snare drum. The kick, I've learned to not dig in the foot into the kick drum, but release so it makes boom, you know, a big tone. All that stuff plays with it, how you sit, the way you're sitting. If the hi-hat has moved, going to muck you up. If you got the wrong sticks for the gig, it's going to muck you up. So it all comes to experience, how you angle the snare drum. All that stuff is going to do something to you. But you get guys like that are professional who have done gigs all their lives. They got all that sorted, So I can speak for a guy like me who is new at being a drummer and getting out there doing gigs. It's hard, but the thing that I keep in mind the most is if it's, for instance, if it's a reggae thing, to stay as solid as possible with air, space, and because I'm a bass player, I know that the bass player is following me. So you get what I'm saying? The drum is the most important instrument in a lot of music, man. The drum is the most important instrument. The bass player, we got to make everyone feel good. But if the drum is no good, man, it's like it's heartbreaking, because your whole reason for being at the gig is so it feels good. It's got to feel good. So we've all been blessed to play with the best drummers in the world, all of us. I had a 7-minute play with Dave Weckl, and the sound that he makes on stage, it's amazing. It sounds glorious the way he plays, and that same sound comes from all the great drummers. Like, for instance, I want to name names. I play all the time with Buddy Ciola. He's like a hero of everybody, of all drummers, right? Even great drummers that have incredible chops, they all love him because he's an amazing drummer. He says everything that is meant to be said on a drum, he says it on a kick, snare, and hi-hat.
Yeah.
And that's incredible, He's amazing, at doing that. And then you got the other side of the spectrum. You got a guy like Tonio Marquez. He's man. Tonio. Fuck. The guy is
incredible.
Ridiculous. It's just ridiculous,
He hits so hard.
He hits hard,
His
man.
drums go... Whoa.
Dude, he's a powerhouse. He's a powerhouse. And we're very fortunate to have guys like that here, and we got great drummers. And the drummer that asked that question, that's Dave Goodman.
Yeah.
Dave Goodman's another amazing drummer.
Yeah.
We've all played with Dave Goodman. He's an amazing musician. He's got an incredible, beautiful, gentle, precise touch about his, and he's very watery. I don't know how to I don't know how to explain music into words, man. It's but that's what we were looking. Adam covered it. We were looking for that. We're looking for great timing, nice touch. Play and be honest with the music, and don't try and shine. Don't try and be this show off. We don't want to play with that. None of us like that. We want to play with the guy that plays for the music. Really, really, it's there, honestly playing. That's what we want. I'm going to hand it over to the maestro.
To the maestro.
Maestro, God. Well, how do I follow all that? God, all the great answers.
God.
Pass the olives. What do I look for a drummer? I like playing with drummers where I don't have to think about the time. I don't have to think about, is it grooving? It just is, and there are certain guys that I encounter on gigs, and I've done a lot of playing. I just know it's going to be a good night because there's some kind of connection that I have with them. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is, an X factor or something like that, but there are certain drummers I just like playing with, and I for me, I can't intellectualize that sort of stuff. To me, it's all about a feeling. There are just some guys that kind of get it. They have all that stuff that the guys, my esteemed colleagues, have said before about the touch and the time and all that sort of stuff. But for me, I don't think about playing ahead or behind or on the click. The song kind of dictates that to my way of thinking. I know it's probably simplistic, but that's how I think. And the drummers I really enjoy playing with, they as I said, I don't have to think about all that sort of stuff. The songs just play themselves. I'm having a great time. They're having a great time. And people are dancing. I like my drummers I like drummers who are funky, you know, and I reckon there's an element of funk in all music.
Yeah.
You know, that's the one, you know, when the music's really moving you, I call it funky. You guys might call it something completely different, but I really like playing with funky drummers, you know, and that could be like jazz, it could be like rock, it could be, you know, funk, Latin, whatever. Yeah, I just like playing with people that make me feel good, you know, and there are, you know, and I've been lucky that I get to play with, you know, maybe 6 or 7, 8 drummers that kind of do that for me, you know. I think
that's gone off one hand, he's got 2 hands.
Wow.
Hey.
I said 20.
But I'll name names, but I'll name international guys, you know, because I mean, you know, you think about Steve Gadd, you know, everyone loves playing with Steve Gadd, everyone, you know, Jeff Porcaro, you know, everyone loves playing with Jeff, you know. I mean, these 2 guys are revered in the drumming world by people like Dave Weckl and you know, whoever, you know, Vinnie Colaiuta, all those guys revere these 2 guys. And what is it about those 2 guys?
Yeah.
They just make it feel good. They make the music feel good.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I'm coming from. It's not a technical thing.
Yeah.
I don't think you can actually even learn it, to be quite honest. I
Yeah.
think it's just some people have just got that X factor,
Yeah.
you know. That's pretty much it.
Awesome.
It's a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
I've got a Porcaro story.
Have you?
Want to hear it?
Hang on, what's it? Bobby, how you for time?
Oh, yeah, it's 10 minutes. It's 10.
10 minutes, cool.
Oh,
Sweet.
well, maybe move on to the next question.
Worst fuck up on a gig?
Really?
Really? The worst.
What, like physical or musical or?
Whatever. The one that's made you go, oh.
Do you want to just go and bury yourself?
Yeah, well,
Taxi! I'll come and get my gear tomorrow.
there's actually a few times that, you know, like I've done the boo-boo where I've like gone, oh wow, that was like, you know, the start the song Fred Out, you know, like in the, you know, semitone out, it's just gone in hell for leather, and it's like everyone's looking at you like, what key are you in? And
Yeah.
oh, man.
How long's it taken you?
Oh, no, it doesn't take too long, but it's like, you know, it's a total moment, and it's a train wreck, you know, like you've done it, and it's like, okay, and then go back down, and, you know, like sometimes they've started, and, you know, no one else done that? Okay, sweet. No,
No, never.
I think I just, you know, I've just sort of attacked it with so much gusto and been like just a little bit.
And you had the face
just a little
too.
bit
You had
to the left,
face
you
too,
know.
eh? You had the face.
Oh, man, you know, you got to face your things in, and there's fuck ups that can't be talked about, man. Definitely. Yeah. You know.
Oh, you're amongst friends. It's only us here.
Yeah, I don't know what your listeners, how many listeners you've got now, but yeah, you know, there's, you know, anyway. Next.
Well, obviously, I learnt very early on that in order to learn the tune, you have to learn note for note, and then look at some cover versions and some live versions. And unless I've done that, I haven't learnt the song, because I'm not a charts guy at all. I'm definitely a learn it guy. So yes, early on when I didn't learn a song properly, obviously there were some bad ones. Like when I just hadn't learnt the material properly, and then I got an appropriate email, usually from a drummer actually, saying that wasn't good enough, and I was like, yep, good. And I'm a guy who really enjoys feedback, even if it's negative, because it's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to luckily I haven't had a few of those in several years, but you know, I mean, the immediate cock-up which comes to mind, though, on a gig was I was on a Dami show, and I was usually play this song on an upright bass. And it was a Perth gig, so that we had to do it on electric. And for some reason, I thought that the song started on E flat, but it actually started in E. And it was, you know, a big note where there's literally just her singing on piano, and there's a big E, and I played an E flat, and Dami has no poker face, and so she just goes, like, there's the immediate like twist of like, what are you doing? Sort of, yeah. It was very bad.
Something just came came to mind. I did, there's these Bowie shows that happen in town with Duffo and...
Yeah, because Jess Jumper plays on that, doesn't he? The Bowie show.
Yeah, the times I've played has been somebody else.
Okay.
But in my early days of learning the show, it's like there was one big hit, and it was like you go to the 4 chord like, dang, and then you finish at the 4 chord. And I just went in hard and I played the first chord. Dang! And I think I remember Jake Houston turning around going, no! I went, too late! And I think it was at the Enmore Theatre, like full house, And I just thought, oh, yeah, I know this chord. 4. 1, no, 4.
Sensational.
The other ones are like you, like semi-turned out. What's one fret between frets? Do. Oh shit, what's going on? Getting back to a Marcia gig we did, we were in Perth, and Perth's got a lot of little satellite towns that just keep popping up everywhere, and they all end up with the name Loop. Jinder Loop, Younger Loop, what the hoop. And anyway, we went to the opening of this new town. It kind of, for me, I felt like it was like a spy town because everything was neat and model, and you had the setup, the council there with the mayor, and he had his flowers on, and we did the special concert for this throw together city council. Not a soul inside, just this brand new town. So we're doing this song, and This is not so much a fuck up with me. It's a fuck up with your brain. It's when you've got someone that's leading, and I won't mention names, but our keyboard player forgot to turn the transpose button off from the previous song. So we're doing a ballad. It's Marcia's. What's that song? Go On, Girl. Go on, girl. Anyway, she does a color voce thing in the beginning with just piano. No, but we come in with leading me on. So it's D back to A. So he's doing this intro thing, and we know this song. We've done it 1,000 times. It's just intro, blah, blah, and here we go. Do, 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 do. It's like 2 tones. Leading me on. It's like, oh, man, talk about a mind fuck, I don't know if that's ever... I mean, you've mentioned that before, and it's like, what key am I in? We're all looking around, and I'm looking at the fret. Yes, it's on the D. Yeah, it's D, and John's playing the D, and we're going, what's going on? And so-and-so's playing E flat. I look down at the VIP party there. They're in the front. They're watching us, and they're all going... They're doing this. They're going... as we're trying to sort out our brains, and we did the whole song like that, battling, trying to let's settle on one tone. What's the tone? What is it? Is it E flat or is it B flat or A? It's like, boy, that song just finished as soon as we could. It was just like
painful. Transpose buttons, hey?
Boy.
That's a good one.
Dauno.
Well, I did one last night.
Yay, fresh. Got a freshie.
I did a semitone out last night. It was meant to be an A, and I played, I think, an A flat. But the reason why I played an A flat is because I was experimenting with my bass. I took this thing, it's like got a very, very long neck, and I tuned it down to C. So the whole bass is tuned down to C. Wow. So my A on the E string is my D flat for everybody else. So instead I played what do you call it? I played an A flat. So that was, and Buddy turns around and looks at me like, what the fuck are you doing? Didn't say it, but he was just looking at him, and everybody's looking at him going, oh, shit, I got another one. That's a bad one. That was last night. Fresh. I'll go back a few years ago when I used to smoke weed at gigs. A few years ago, and I stopped smoking weed at gigs for a long time. I stopped smoking because I didn't want to do it anymore. And the band leader goes, come on, let's go. Come on, Dauno. All right, let's go. And this was an Afro-Cuban gig where you got charts in front of you and you got a billion hits and rhythms and blah, 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 blah. Complicated shit. And I had a smoke, and that second set became a trip. and it was just horrible. Anyway, that was a disaster, and it was just disgusting. And I promised never to smoke at a gig ever again.
right.
I haven't done it ever since.
Right.
But then I now got the beauty. This is a beauty. Years ago, I got drunk and I smoked. And I had 2 gigs that night. At the gig, I could not finish that set. I got outside, a bass player that was in the crowd hanging out, he jumped in and did the gig for me on my bass and my amp. And the second gig, he had to go and do that second gig. So I actually stayed in the car park. That was the biggest fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah. So you learn from being young and stupid. You learn.
Yeah.
I'm sure the maestro hasn't got a story that bad.
Did you still get paid though?
No, hell no.
Would have been robbery.
Look, I've made plenty of mistakes on gigs. You know, we've all done it. You know, but I'll tell you what happened to me recently was I seem to be in situations now where people don't want to rehearse. Like, you know, it's like I get booked for a gig, I write out the charts, and then it's just like you just do the gig cold. You know, like just, you know. But what happens sometimes is they don't tell me that, you know, like I'm checking out the YouTube clip or the audio, you know, the MP3 or whatever, and I'm writing out the chart or whatever. But they don't tell me that they've changed the arrangement, you know. You don't know until you're actually sort of like you're playing the song, and then you're going to the bridge, and then they're going back to a verse or something like that. I mean, there's nowhere to run or hide, you know, when that happens. It's just like you just kind of like, you know, it's like your mind's kind of like porridge. What's happening, you know? And it's all looking around, and you know, and then they're saying, no, we've changed it. Oh, thanks, you know, and it's like, you know, so it's, you know, but like Vic said, it's like it's just you just got to. You live in the moment.
How about the old trick where you just slide the neck like?
That's right.
Spot on.
A couple of seconds to sort of get your thing together. And then you start waving your hand around. Yeah. You know, you just distract.
Yeah.
While you're figuring out, are we going to the bridge or the, you know?
But I do have a tip for young bass players out there listening. If you kind of like make a mistake, don't kind of make it look obvious on your face that you're making a mistake. Just look at your amp. Just turn around and just go and just like reach for the volume.
Yeah.
And people go, what the hell? Oh, it couldn't have been the bass because he's just fixing up his amp. You know, he's just turning himself up or whatever. You know, so you want to, so you don't want to give the game away by just like going like that, you know, on the expression.
Just on that, as a drummer, for me, if I make a mistake, I always look at my bass drum pedal. Yeah. It's always my bass drum pedal. Like this, like I'm letting people know that the spring got a tad slider.
That's good because everyone gets sympathetic for you, and it's not like it's like, oh yeah, man, okay, mate. You know?
Gear,
but that trick there, that's a guitar player's trick.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like, no, they don't know their shit. It'd be worse if the guitar player and the bass player both turned around at the same time. Like, oh, what's going on here, man?
Well, the drummer gets up and goes towards the amp as well.
Yeah, we're supposed to go to the bridge. Nobody told me. I'm just fixing his amp.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, Bobby, you have to shoot off for a gig now, don't you? Bobby, thanks so much for being part of this today. And
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
It was nice to meet you and pleasure to have you here.
Lovely to be in the company of such amazing bass players.
Awesome. Enjoy your gig, man.
Thank you.
Yep, sweet as. All right, we're back. And then there were 4. Okay, we talked a bit about what you want in a drummer. Now let's talk a little bit about keyboard players and guitarists. You, Adam, mentioned something about the keyboard players.
Left hand.
Left hand, okay. So let's talk a little bit about that.
The left hand is very dangerous on a keyboard if you've got a bass player. Like, it's my least favourite thing if somebody's sort of just stomping around down there. I think Bobby that was talking about guitarists have too much bottom end on their guitars because it gets in the way. That's not even the same kind of register. If you have someone stomping around and playing
It's kind of a low mid.
but they're playing their full chords and they're actually playing in our register.
Yep.
Unless what they're playing is exactly what we're playing.
Yep.
Which is super, super, super rare. They should not be doing it. Pretty much.
So is that a conversation you have with them? when you know they're doing it? Hey, bro. Or do they go? Why don't
when
you
say
just
conversation?
Why don't you just play up? Why don't you just play up at him?
Yeah. I should go higher.
Yeah, I'm
right?
down here.
Yeah. I've definitely. I think when they're younger players and they're kind of like they're not kind of
Aware.
Well, they're not aware and they seem kind of cool and they're kind of looking at you like, we doing all right? And I'm like, don't play with your left hand. I'm more like, be careful with your left hand because it really does wreck the gig for me.
Okay.
And, like I'm not saying don't play, but like there's just a whole register that's what we got and that's all we got. So we make our best down there. And I think they just need to be careful. Like you can do things texturally down there, here and there, and be cautious with it, like and but stay a little bit towards the middle, because you've got a bass player and you don't need it. If it's a solo piano or there is no bass, go for your life. But when you got a bass, you got to be careful. So anyway.
Yeah, good point. There's some good players out there that are so experienced, like solo pianists are always using the left hand, so they've got that heavy left.
Yep.
And they tend to forget when they come into an ensemble, they're still doing that same approach, and you just got to just go up to them and just subtly just say, just be aware I'm doing the left. I'd say, yeah. And a lot of them would actually apologise and sort of stick around the middle register. There have been times where I've played with some of the best piano players are the ones that just cover the whole keyboard range. And that could be a good thing and could be a bad thing. It's a bad thing in an ensemble because sometimes when they're playing the bass lines, I actually just stop playing.
Yeah, well.
I just have to wait for them to hear what's missing. Yeah, I do. I physically put my hands up like I'm surrendering. And this might go for a few bars and all of a sudden it's like, and I went. Then I just give the nod, I just I got a job back, you know what I mean?
Surrender.
Yeah.
And there's other times where you've got these. I'd imagine, like someone say, for instance, I'm pulling a name out, like Greg Fillinganes, who is totally professional, utmost professional person. Who I've seen him play with just middle right and nothing else, because he's aware that there's a bloody good bass player that's in the ensemble that's doing that. And you've got there's some players like that in Sydney that sort of have that approach, But it's just be aware, we're playing the left hand. We are the left hand. There are players in Sydney, I won't name names, who actually go out and do gigs and play the left hand and do us out of a gig, which sometimes it kind of works.
What, literally?
Yeah, because, budget constraints first and foremost, budget. But I've heard really wicked stories where they're actually gone out, got paid for a keyboard player and got paid for a bassist.
No.
Anyway, moving right along. Seriously.
Yeah.
Just as I said that. And for me, I only just heard this story last night and I went, really? It's like, whoa, that's double dipping right there, man. And the other thing that too I can't understand is when you got guitar players who are actually doing bass gigs.
Okay.
I'm a bit sort of uncomfortable with that. I mean, good on him for getting the bass gig, but it's like, is that because times are tough or quiet? So it's like, yeah, I can play bass as well. It's like, okay, man, you got the gig. Without any consideration for the other bass players out there. Could at least ask them, or stuff like that. I don't know whether that's a mateship thing or whatever, but I just kind of find it like, it doesn't sit well with me, with guitar players doing bass gigs, Unless it's desperate and they can't get. I mean, I've heard the excuse where like, oh man, all the good bass players they're all gigging, so I'll do the gig. But how far does that go actually? In honest terms.
How many have they actually called?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just an assumption.
Yep.
Left hand on the keyboard.
Left hand. Yep.
Left hand on the keyboard. Root notes on a guitar. The fifth on a guitar. That's too much because you got A string, E string, anything up to whatever, an E, even an E on the E string, right? on the A, sorry, an E on the A string. It's got so much bottom end. Those harmonics clash. So I mean, it can work if it's EQ'd out, or the keyboard amplifier is put on a stand, or the guitar amplifier is put on a stand.
Right.
Then maybe that can work, because then at least we got the biggest note, the fattest sounding notes. Depends. It depends. I don't, it's not nice. Only a few people know how to talk to a bass player. Well, for instance, guys that I play with regularly, like Daryl Beaton, for instance, and my brother Phoenix, they know how to hang with the bass player, because they will do things like they'll play a chord and they'll do a little thing,
right?
Or put the chord. Just little yummy things. Yummy things, and they complement your bass line, but they never get in the way. And I think it takes really, really good timing for a keyboard player to really match the bass player's bass line. Like, when they're doubling up. Some songs are nice. They have a really full chord, so you hear it and they got the root note. You hear the root note in the chord and bang, and it's fat, it's beautiful. But not all the time. A lot of the time you can, because it's harmony, you can outline a chord with, one note. You can outline the sound of a chord, because we're bass players. That's what we do. We the keyboard player gives us a color, and going from the major scale, every semitone gives us a different chord, So if we're masters at doing that, because that's what we got to play with. We don't go there and play, give you a chord up here in the higher octave, and try and be tricky and all that stuff. We can all do that, but that's not what we do. We muck around with harmony in the lower register. That's our thing, and the bass is magical in that. That's where we shine. That's where we truly, when we play well, is when we got given the room. Otherwise, I become your octave pedal, and I don't want to be your octave pedal, man. Don't make me do that, because you're gonna get an octave pedal. You're basically just, if that's all the room you're giving me, you're just gonna make me be an extra harmonic for the kick drum. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like another frequency for the kick drum. Basically, that's what I become. And we've all done gigs where we've been that, and it's a good learning experience too, doing that. But yeah, let's say, for instance, when you hear a recording like One Up, One Down, I think it's called, from now completely mind blank. One Up, One Down with McCoy Turner on piano. He plays all the and all, dissonant harmony, all that stuff. And the bass player is walking, but it's not clashing, because that bass sound is such a definite upright bass sound. And the piano, the natural piano doesn't sound like the DI piano that we get on keyboards. The DI keyboard piano is so low. It's got so much low, perfect frequency. Where the bass hasn't got perfect frequency. The bass has got all these. You play one note, but that one note will resonate with the fifth of that harmony and the octave of that note, and you get all these harmonics. Yeah, all these harmonics, and it's just, how to select the right bass as well, for the gig. And it comes to all those things, But I've had many chats with musicians that I've played with. Biggest problem is to get piano player, guitarist, and drummer, the whole ensemble, to back you up in a solo. That's the biggest trouble I find, because they can kind of work out, harmony, he's got that covered, cool. But backing you up in the solo, that takes a lot of practice, I think. That's very hard to do. I want to pass it over now to the maestro.
Oh, that's me, is it? Oh, okay. Look, I don't encounter too many professional guitarists or keyboard players that sort of get in the way, of what I'm doing. They all seem to know, what area they've got to play in and that I'm around and all that sort of stuff. I think mostly that sort of stuff that we're talking about, or in my experience anyway, comes more from students, when these beginning ensembles, like this, when you've got these guys and girls that are kind of learning and they're kind of like, reading a chart and they're playing their root position chords and all that, but they're not really hearing what's around them, And I suppose my job was to basically say, hey, listen, you're kind of getting in the way of this. And one of my pet hates was actually having two guitar players play exactly the same thing, in an ensemble. I used to kind of like go, no, he's already playing the bar chords and that. Why don't you kind of play some, 16th note kind of funky lines or something different. Try to be different, but also complement each other as well. Think about the music, what's your role in the music, okay, you're a harmonic instrument, but don't do what he's doing or what she's doing, do something a little differently to kind of come up with parts to make the song work, so I think that's might be my experience. But, with the professional musos, I suppose I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of really good players that kind of just understand their role in the music, I think with the whole left-hand thing, I think that's more the cocktail guy that's doing their first band gig or something like that, and they're just kind of like they're just ploughing ahead and they're not really listening, they're just doing their thing, and a nice sort of like an iPhone to the head or something like that will kind of like make them aware that they're
it's
kind
such
of
an art, isn't it?
Yeah.
For a solo pianist to come in an ensemble and play, and he has to readjust his
whole
approach,
concept, yeah.
because he's not aware really the bass player's behind him, so it's like there's only so much that they can do.
Yeah. Totally.
The other big gripe with piano players too, or guitar players for that matter, is like when you get the odd occasion where you've been thrown a solo, so everyone stops. It's like, why? Give me something to solo on, Give me some changes. Give me even drums. Drums will stop. It's like, fuck, where's the time? It's okay. It's a test for you to like, okay, you got the meter in your head going whatever the tempo of the song is. But if you just give the soloist some sort of chordal approach or something, that just opens up our mind to like, oh, there's that sound. I'll go with this. I'll go here. But if you give me nothing, I've got to think about tempo. I've got to think about the changes. I've got to think about count whether it's 16 or shall I give myself another 16. It's like it's all that. It's hard work. It's like, you know what, fellas? I don't want any solo if you're not going to back me up. That's all it is.
If you're playing the ninth of a chord, it sounds nice when you've got the chord underneath it because then you go, oh, that's the sweet note. But if you're on your own, it's like, oh, okay. And
the tasteful piano players will actually give you like a teaser. It's like a carrot. They'll just go, bring, and then you're like, bring, and it's like, wow. I love this guy. You know what I mean?
That stuff happens a lot in Afro-Cuban music.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot because the bass player won't stop playing tumbao. He won't stop.
He wants to break. Yeah. Well, the other thing is too. He wants to break the rhythm.
Yeah,
you got to go from rhythm to you're on your own, pal.
That's
so you do a counter melody. You do half the rhythm, or whatever. But you do it. But give me something.
Yeah.
Give me a triad or something. Just go here, go there, go there. Nothing. No left hand chords.
No.
Just no left hand bass. Just triad right hand. That's enough for me, you know.
Yeah.
And if he gives you a rhythm, even better, clang, 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 it's like...
that's right.
Something rather than ring, spring. It's like, where we go with this, mate? Come on.
Yeah.
And if the drummer's cluey, he'll just sort of go... that's where they really shine, It's when they're all colouring, they're helping you colour this big picture, and you're the main boy, just for that 16 bars or 8 bars or 32. But if you're the main boy and it's like, all right, we'll just stop, we'll just put our instruments down and watch you go for 16 bars. Good luck. That's not music. Yeah. That's torture.
The hardest thing is when the rhythm or whoever's backing you up is dictating where you're going. Because that's really tough.
That is a tough call.
That's the tough call because you're I found myself that I'm pushing my
Yeah.
my
Your meter.
my word is this one, but you want me to go this way. Like that's not it takes a lot of experience,
I
you
think
know, playing with the right.
The purpose for like a bass solo is that you want to have 100% of your energy in improvising. You don't want to have 90 or 80% because you got 20% of that just worried about energy, you know. As he passes over the...
Sorry, the mozzies are out. Hang on.
We have a little mozzie break here.
This one motherfucker just beat the shit out of my ankle. Look, he's sprayed on his head.
That's full on, man.
So we've got the air guard going around. Do you want something?
Hey, no, I'm good, man.
No, okay, sweet.
They don't like me.
Hungry,
I never get
man.
bitten, man.
No, me neither.
And you know what? You know, they're females, right?
Right.
Those mosquitoes that bite are females. That's what I heard anyway. I'm just saying.
I'm not touching.
I'm just saying.
Going there.
I'm just saying, man, the males don't come and bite. It's the females that bite.
Right. Vampires.
I don't know how that works. Anyway, carry on. Left hand.
Oh, classic. Most difficult band leader you've ever worked with? You don't have no names.
You're fishing for names, aren't you?
No. Seriously, no names, or just the situation with a band leader or an artist. Yeah.
I'll lead off.
Cool.
Look, I'm not going to name names, but I, the leader has to lead, and has to give you, an air of confidence and kind of inspire the best performance from you and be organised and just know what needs to be done and I've been in situations where the band leaders have not been like that, and then it kind of suffers. You know what I mean? You can have a great band, and yet like let's say for example, you're backing somebody and, you need someone to kind of conduct, I mean, great players, we need to follow, everyone needs to kind of follow the leader, in sort of dictating the time in a Colovace section, for example, and if they're not confident doing that or they don't know, no clue about the music or whatever like that, then the whole thing just kind of like implodes, So yeah, definitely need someone who's like organised, knows the music. I mean, one of my favourite band leaders is John Foreman, because he's such an incredible musician, but he's also a great leader. He's able to kind of like, he's got a team of people that work with him, whether it's the arrangers or the TV people, whatever. And he seems to be this perfect conduit between the musician and the TV people, and he always would kind of talk to them about us, and talk to us about them kind of thing. And there was never seemed to be a drama. It all seemed to the whole thing kind of seemed to hum along, but also a monster musician, knew the music, could conduct clearly, knew the music, just incredible. I really respected him, and he was sort of like, he'd be like, have the God mic, we'd all have cans, this is when we're doing Idol, and he'd be talking to us, telling us, okay, in this next segment we'll be playing such and such, and saying, okay, I'll be counting this, and here's a click check of this and all that, and then the whole thing became easy. Then all we had to do was just read the notes, and make music, and to me that's a great leader, a great band leader, or musical director. Cool. Maestro, Dauno.
Thank you, Maestro. Worst band leader? I've never had a worst band leader. I don't think I've ever had a bad band leader in whatever level, musical level it might have been at. Never been a bad band leader. I can tell you good band leaders that I've had. Recent years, I've worked with, for instance, in the Afro-Cuban world, for instance. I've worked with Armando Garcia, who's an incredible musician and band leader, vocalist, trumpet player. And through him and his leadership and the musicians that play in that band or his ensembles, basically they've put me in line, well in line, because stylistically I might play things, or back then anyway, I would have played things out of line, and I would have gone with the flow of the music that I felt like how it should be, and those things of background and experience and knowledge and understanding that style of music, they reinforced that in me. So I learned a lot through that. Those are the few situations where I've, I never go into a situation thinking that I'm the shit. I never do that. I sit there and I take it, even if the person might not be musically knowledged as me or whoever else, but I don't tread on that or anything like that, because it's what they're hearing. We have to please them, what they're hearing. So he's been a great teacher in that sense, because I've never put in anything. I've always been told what to do, you see? And there's a lot of things happening in that music. So I've learned that in this style of music, I only do this pattern here, and I can put a little fill, one tiny fill right here. And the fill is this. It's not the fill that I'm going to add a funky little pentatonic line. Nah. None of that stuff. That stuff doesn't fly. So he's been great. Obviously, my father has been great. Playing with him, he's got a different approach, very different approach, And playing with all the great people that I've played with, they're all great, Every one of them, they've all taught me to be humble about playing the instrument and playing the best to the music. But yeah, that's it. Pass it over to the maestro.
I should have changed the question to who's the best band leader. It's funny because bass players and drummers are so different. I asked the question to the drummers, and man, they loved that question. They were throwing people under the bus all over the place. No, not people.
That's why they're all not working at the moment.
No names,
yeah.
but just the stories of the worst. Whereas you guys, you're very positive. So no, we're not touching that. But these guys are,
Wow.
Diplomacy.
Yeah.
Is a wonderful.
So they did MDs or whatever under the bus.
Yeah. Just like this guy was bad because he did that. Or this, it's interesting.
John Foreman comes to mind first, because you're absolutely right. I haven't done much with him. In fact, I've only done one gig, and that was dipping for Mark on Australian Idol. Great experience, man. And you're exactly right. He just made me feel comfortable. Well, the whole band, for that matter. I just thought to myself, what an easy gig, Everything's laid out there. When the actual show came, there was one artist that kind of missed the cue somewhere, and straight away he got on the God mic and he said, looks like, get ready, looks like he's just missed the verse, the bridge or something. We might go to letter C, so just stand by. And he sort of read ahead, and sure enough, it was right there, just plain to see, rather than, fuck, where do we go now? There's just this calm voice while he's playing. And he's like, he's missed the cue, guys. I think we're going to go to letter C, Just stuff like that. And it was like so easy, man. It was like a walk in the park, That's all I can think of at this stage. Oh, sometimes I actually like to MD myself too, because it's that full awareness of what musicians want first. Yep. Sometimes you've been tasked to assemble a band, so you get a whole bunch of musicians, that you can trust, and they trust you, you trust them. The other job for being a good MD is actually to make the musicians feel very, very comfortable. Don't pick on, there's no room for picking on faults or anything. It's like if they're misreading or they're misinterpreting, that's fine. You just go and you just sort of politely say, I think this is how we do it, and this is how. Just try that approach. And at the end of the day, it's like they all feel important. It's all part of the project, that they're as important of that whole project as much as you are. Yep. So I had a recent experience of doing It was just a one-off gig with Boy George, that assembled the band together, and I just MD'd it. We just went out and did a corporate gig, and it was the most easiest gig because my job was so easy. I assembled everything together as far as not putting the band together, but the band was chosen for me. They said, can you go out and MD? And I just talked to every individual in the band and just discussed like what the songs were, and this is how we're going to do it, and blah, blah, blah. And let's just go with the flow. At the end of the day, it's BG, and he's the star. He's going to come in. He might demand, he may not demand, but let's just make a good job out of it, So you just walked in, you went, fine, band sounds great,
Yeah, cool.
Who's the MD? Oh, that dude over there. Oh, I've never seen you before. Oh, I've never seen you too. But, just the thing is just to make it as easy as possible for everyone concerned, I think that's the secret. And knowing the music in you, like you're ready to spring, to just pick up somebody. If they fall, just pick them up, It's okay, no problems. Just, let's just go with it,
Yeah.
I think that's a John Foreman trait, that one.
Adam?
Kind of bouncing off what Vic said before about sort of the complacency of some band leaders / MDs. Like sometimes you come across people who are maybe right place at the right time, or sort of, it's quite often a keyboard player or a guitarist. I've found oddly not as often the bass player, though I feel like the bass player is generally probably the most solid person, but we have to hit the one of every chord in this. There's no faking it for us. We would know where everything lays in a song and stuff like that. So I feel like bass players actually make pretty good MDs because we have to hit it hard. Us and the drummers have to kind of mark things for everybody and be there. And so I've sort of, as a person that likes to lay it down and nail sections, nail the part, nail the sections, sometimes you're kind of dealing with people that are just kind of faking it a little bit. Like they don't know quite where it's going. They've got a pretty bad way of describing things. They've got it's really is that communication thing. So like you could maybe be like not such a great musician, but if you're a great communicator and you're great at kind of working with what you've got, and like say if you've got a really good band, I've been in situations where you've got like amazing band and the one driving the bus is the weakest link, and that's awkward. It's super awkward to work with sometimes, and you just do your best. Like if it's not your gig, or sometimes an artist feels that they know enough to be their own MD, but then there's a lot of information missing, maybe you want to be more prepared when you get to the stage, sound check or whatever, and they come out and they go, do this and that and the other and blah, 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 and here's a new song that we're going to do tonight. And you're like, okay, it's not quite as easy as that, but okay. Because you just say yes and you do what you can do, and like I'm lucky I learn things fast, so I'm pretty sure everyone here can learn things pretty fast, that you'd kind of go, okay, bang, pop the earbuds in and learn the song while I'm sitting there at the amp, and everyone's doing the same thing, and okay, cool, no worries. And it's like it doesn't really need to be like that. You might not have as much musical knowledge as the people that you're working with, but you can sort of direct the traffic still by being really solid about the forms, really solid about where the song's going and the dynamics of a song. But like even then, sometimes you find that's lacking in some people, because they're like, I feel like it's kind of more of a control thing than an actual like a musical thing, and it's like, okay,
And isn't it funny when you detect it straight away? Bass players are very good at that. We can just pick up, we can smell the stink. As soon as there's a little hint of stink, it's like, there's no music here. It's more like an ego thing, and it's like, okay, still play the game.
Bye.